People always tell me that nothing has value unless the government says it does. This is obviously not true. If that was the case, silver would have not got too expensive for the government to stop making silver dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars, or to stop making pennies out of 95% copper. And now they're even talking about discontinuing the penny because zinc is too expensive. Does that sound like the government can control the value of metals to you? Okay, guys, I wanted to do a video about copper. I've done a couple before, but I've learned stuff since then. I knew more about silver and gold and put what I knew into copper, but I want to go over what I've learned now. First off, the title I'm planning on to get the most views so I can teach the most people is similar to one that's up there already. I just want to say that now. And no, I didn't copy anybody. If you watch it, you'll see it goes over many of the same points that I did on my very first copper video. So, did the guy copy me? I don't think so. Did I copy him? Well, no, I put the first video out a couple months before that one came out. So, you know, basically it's key points. Because it's YouTube, you always get that kind of crap. So I just thought I'd answer that now. Second, if you don't believe in this, well then, hey man, go watch something else. I get people all the time go just put negative comments or tell me this is stupid or something. They have no idea what they're talking about. They try to put arguments, but just by what they place, you know they don't know what they're talking about. See, me, I don't try to disprove that the Queen is an alien. I don't believe that. So I don't waste my time. You know, I don't waste any of my time devoted to that shit. So, anyway, if you want to learn how to invest in copper, the most profitable way, the common sense way, cheap and easy, learn to protect your purchasing power, well then we're going to go over that. Learn how to hedge with copper. So, copper is an industrial base metal, right? Or it can be, some people call it a semi-precious metal. Now, I would recommend pennies first off. So I want to go over some of that, and we're going to go over the pennies, bullion, and scrap, and the pros and cons of those. So I just say pennies because it's the easiest. So let's go with that. Now, you can get these copper coins free and easy, but takes you a little bit of time to do so. You need to find a bank that won't charge you a fee to buy whole boxes or to deposit them back. You'll lose more than you gain with fees or Coinstar. Then sort through the boxes and keep what is copper and cash in the rest. If the bank charges you whole boxes, then ask for a couple rolls every time you go to the bank, grocery store, or gas station, right? So, why copper in the first place? There have been no real discoveries in about 100 years. There's some copper mines, but nothing really significant in about 100 years. When precious metals, silver, gold, platinum, palladium, when those prices go up, it creates kind of a trickle-down effect to other semi-precious metals like copper. Right? So you want to have it before everybody else does. China and India are having higher living standards. They're driving cars, more homes with electricity, more plumbing. Power lines are mostly copper, right? That's all the power, all the strands you see on telephone poles, and what you don't see underground power lines as well. And all electrical devices need copper. There's still lots of pipes out there that are made of copper, right, for water. So those two massive populations need massive amounts of copper. And there's a limited supply in the world, So, precious metals are bought and sold by the metric system, a troy ounce, right? As opposed to the AVP, avoirdupois ounce. Just AVP is what you usually see on a bullion. So, remember, they're sold by the pound, not ounce. When you see copper, the copper price, it's for the pound. It's a big difference, right? You don't want to get screwed doing that. So, my favorite is copper pennies. Gresham's law states that bad money drives out good. If two coins have the same face value but composed of different metals, the one composed of the cheaper metal will continue to in circulation to bear payment, while the more valuable metal will disappear and be hoarded away, and eventually they disappear. This is what happened with with silver coins, and what is starting to happen with copper. In my opinion, it's the best way to go. Right. It's cheap, and there's a lot of ways to do it, right? Pennies are great because they carry a specific weight, purity. Everybody knows it's legal tender. So what do you want to know? It's, in my opinion, the best way to go. Pennies. They're available at face value. They're already worth double the face value. They have no risk. Plus, they have the same strength as junk silver, with little to no premium. They have a predetermined weight and purity. Right? Melting them down is stupid, even if it's legal. After that, how would you recognize the purity? I wouldn't take somebody's word for it. Plus, refineries will not buy, some of them will not buy backyard melted copper because they worry about the purity, and even if they tested it, they got to worry about people trying to use a lead core or something. From my understanding, there's 151 pennies in a pound, last time I checked, if I remember correctly. 151 or 154, I think it was 151. So 3 rolls is about a pound of 95% pure copper that can already be used for trade, barter, or something. Right? Use it for everyday transactions in the future. Now let's go over pennies. And like I said, I'm going to break down the math at the end. Pennies 1958 and older will be wheat cents. They are 95% copper, but are they're more valuable than the standard 95% copper Lincoln Memorials. The premium is higher, so you should place those aside. There's a coin shop, local coin shop, that they just throw these cases in a junk bin. They buy stuff and throw them in there. So I just take all the wheat cents, count them, and put them in here. They get a higher premium, so I separate them. Right? That'll be the last thing I sell if I sell them. You keep those for yourself, no matter what, you know. So they're pretty rare, but when you see them, put them aside. Now, pennies from 1959 to 1981 for sure are 95% copper. Most copper pennies will be Lincoln Memorial pennies. You get higher if you keep all the 82s out, and if you keep out the ugly Abes and damaged coins. I would say put them in rolls, put them back in the original boxes, and put them aside. Just keep the original box, roll them, throw them in there, takes up less room. And there you go, just for convenience. I wouldn't say big old 5-gallon buckets. That's a bit too much. As a matter of fact, if you have that many pennies, I would sell them and buy junk silver. That's a better way to go. Now, half of the pennies made in 1982 are copper, just half. The mint changed the composition during the later half of the year, I believe. Half or later. There are several ways to tell the difference. One, they can be put through a copper sorter, which I would buy a cheap one on eBay. I wouldn't buy a $500 one, right? You'll make your money back eventually, but I just don't see it. Time, I would just say spend a little bit of time a day instead of the money. It's a bit too much to put aside for copper. Put that kind of energy into silver. But you can weigh them. The copper pennies weigh a bit more than the zinc pennies. Or they can be given a ding test. They'll make a different sound. Now, this camera sucks, so I won't even bother. But if you take an older penny and a newer penny, you do it on a wooden surface, you should hear it pretty easily. Like when people drop silver in your hand, you can hear the difference. It's got a different ding to it. Keep out. So when you're doing this, you put 81 and below, except for wheats, aside. And then the ugly Abes and the copper 82s, put them in a different pile. I see like 3 grades myself, even though it's not official. You got your wheat cents, I would say number 1. You've got the 85 to 81, which would be the second. And then your ugly Abes, damaged coins, and 82s. You get the least amount for that. So put those aside, sell them on eBay, and buy silver with that. Right. So basically, a copper penny, if you're going to weigh them up, is 3.11 grams as opposed to a zinc, which is 2.3 grams. So just keep that in mind. If you got a little scale around, that's the easy way to do it. So, pennies made from 1983 to present day are 97% zinc, right? And non-copper 82 pennies. Take them back to the bank, get your money back. Another easy way to do this would be nickels. All nickels are 75% copper and 25% nickel. It's not a good idea to buy boxes of nickels to store. The money would be much better spent buying junk U.S. silver coins, like silver dimes and quarters especially. But it's a good idea to save up nickels from pocket change. All right, you can check out the current value of these coins at coinflation.com. I'm going to leave a link in the description bar for you, as well as a link to Kitco so you can see the present value of copper per pound. Now, when you go into the bank also, any Susan B. Anthony dollars, any Eisenhower dollars, without the S Mint. The S Mint means they're silver from San Francisco Mint. Bicentennial quarters, half dollars from 71 or present, to present. Presidential dollars, Sacagawea dollars, and any foreign coins. I would put those aside and try to sell them on Craigslist or eBay, like in junk sets. Take the money and try to buy silver. Some people like that, like a yard sale. Make a little bit of money off of that. Invest that in silver, man. That's a good way to go. Now, copper bullion. Here's an example. This is the only copper bullion I own. Right. And what's the strength of this would be the same as in silver bullion. Right. There's no laws against this, melting it down, which is a bad idea again. But also, you can take this out of the country if you wanted to. Not that it'd be profitable to do so, but you could. Right. You cannot take, I forget the exact amount of U.S. currency out of the country. But this isn't currency, right? A coin is minted by the government. This is just bullion, private mint. Same with the silver. That's the strength of the bullion. You could melt it down if you wanted to, which I would not recommend. Right now, it's recognizable, and it knows you have a weight and a specific weight again, and purity. Why would you want to ruin that? But you could if you wanted to. Another strength besides the purity is that it takes up less room. Now the problem is the premiums, man. They carry such a high premium, so much that copper would have to increase several times over to break even. And why go through that risk? I'm going to go over the math a little bit again. On the good side, copper's still cheap. In my opinion, even if we were to hit hyperinflation, yes, the value of the copper would go up and it dwarf the losses. But that's in dollar terms. You're talking about purchasing power. And even if you see it that way, imagine all the money that you could have got if you would have invested it properly, right? I mean, for that matter, zinc pennies, that's going to go up in value too. And that'll dwarf anything you spend to it. The $25 you buy for the box. But that's not what you're doing. You're trying to make the maximum gains with limited resources. That's what this is about. Now, I don't think collecting copper is a bad idea at all, like in scrap. But it takes up more room than copper bullion or pennies. But it can be acquired for free. Like this here, just pipe and wire. I would say collect this stuff and sell it. And then use the money again for junk silver, which I've made plenty of videos on. And that's really what I recommend. I have an uncle that works in a construction yard, and they basically, he collects the copper wire for me, the industrial grade copper wire that the electricians leave behind. Right now, copper's low. Nobody cares about it. They just throw it away. Right? I want whatever other people don't want right now. They're going to want later. What I know they're going to want later, I'll have a ton of it by the time they realize it. So that's the way you got to look at it, man. Now, look, as far as the copper bullion versus coins, these are silver quarters, right? Same strength. See, the Congress protects them from being melted or exported. But on the other hand, it's got a recognized purity, weight. Everybody knows what this is. And this is silver bullion. More pure, but there's no loss protecting it. Not that to melting it down. Not that you would want to. It's the same thing in copper. Same strengths, same weaknesses. Somebody would recognize what this is. And when they learned what the composition was, well, there you go. There's a medium of trade, something for barter from day-to-day use. And of course, the silver dollars, they carry a little bit of a high premium. I don't have that many of them, but the same thing. I can only take so many of these out of the country. And not that I would want to melt it down, but I couldn't even if I wanted to. Right. Those are the strengths and weaknesses. But other than that, it's the same. This is cheaper too. Cheaper to get the coins because they're already out there. These, you got a company mints them and does it themselves. So lower premiums on currency. Okay, we're going to do some math now. So, to see this here, I'm going to go over this. So, 10 pounds of copper today is going to set you back $23.30. That's what the spot price is. So, let's start with pennies. There's 150 pennies in 1 pound. So, 150 times 10 would be 1,500 pennies, right? And that would cost you $15. Copper price today is $23.30. You spent $15, you already got a profit, right? The cheapest bullion I could find on eBay was about $65 for a 10 pound. That's why I chose the 10 pound standard here. So, 10 pounds for $65 plus shipping. Right? We're not going to worry about the shipping. We just know we're down already. Up or down, we'll do that later. But anyway, $65. Divide that by 10, because you got 10 pounds, would be $6.50 per pound. You divide that price by the spot price, the value of copper, and you get $3.78. That's almost 3 times the price you've paid, plus shipping, right? You're already down. You've already paid almost 3 times too much. Now let's go for the investment here. 2 scenarios, copper going up and copper going down. Copper price changes. Ooh, okay, so copper goes down 50% from $2.33 to, it's cut right in half, $1.65. All right, so you bought the pennies, 10 pounds of pennies for $15. Copper got cut in half. Now the copper, instead of being $23.30, is $17.40. So you spent $15, it's worth $17.40. You still have profit there. And even if copper went down to, say, 2 cents a pound, it doesn't matter. You could still cash it in for the face value. You still have $15, right? There's 2 layers of protection there. The copper price goes up, you sell it for the higher copper price. The copper price goes down, you sell it for the face value, right? There's 2 ways you can win here. There's no way to lose, actually, unless it gets jacked from you, someone rips you off. But other than that, now let's go to bullion. Bullion, again, you bought it for $65. The price gets cut in half from $2.33 to $1.65 per pound. You are now sitting on $11.65 for 10 pounds of copper, right? You're still way down. 65 to 11.65. That's not good at all. So let's go the positive way. Copper goes up 100%. Now we're going to round this up a little bit. Copper was almost at $5, and it's been fluctuating. It's dropped a little bit. So we're going to go. The copper price would be $2.50, and it doubles to $5 a pound. And let's say you invest $500. Startup cost $500 each. At $500 would get you 50,000 pennies. You divide that by the 150 pennies in a pound, you would have 333 pounds of 95% copper. Right? So, again, it's off a little bit by the percentage, but basically you'd be sitting on $1,165. You subtract your $500 startup, and you are up $1,165. Right? Now, bullion. You spend, and we're going to give bullion a handicap here, okay? We're going to assume that the price of copper goes up about 20 cents or so. I'm not sure what it is right now, but yeah, 3.30. So almost 20 cents. We're going to assume it goes up almost 20 cents and the price doesn't increase. We're going to give it a handicap, okay? So $500 worth of bullion. You divide that by the $65, which would be 7.7 bars. Right? And they're 10-pound bars. So you got 77 pounds of copper, which would equal $385. That's what it'd be worth. Subtract your $500 startup, you are negative $115. And copper just doubled. You see what I'm saying? You can make a lot more money. If you have limited resources, then you have to invest it wisely. Right? Pennies are face value. Junk is free. Collect it and sell it. Right? And bullion, I would not recommend it. Now, what I would like to do is have like, see if there's anybody out there that would be willing to melt down scrap. I mean, it wouldn't be pure, but, for those of us, some of us would be kind of cool just to have it and compact it down. And you could always use it later. I mean, who knows for what, but if somebody wants to do it, I'm seeing if I can have anything, something like that started up. Of course, there's the cost. I don't know anything about that, but anyway, I would just say collect scrap copper, sell it, buy junk silver. Get pennies for free again and take the copper out, a bank that doesn't charge you, and turn it back in and recycle the money back into it. And there you are. I hope this helps out, guys. You got any questions, you let me know.